Right, and here we are. We are live. Good evening. Welcome from the UK. Welcome to, I can never get this right. Welcome to Paul from the USA. So glad you could join us tonight, Paul. How are you, my friend?
I'm very well. I'm very pleased to be here and very thankful that you asked me, Tony. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much indeed. Right, so you've been with us before, so and at that time you were working towards a half marathon personal best, weren't you? So
yes, sir.
You were going for that sub 80. So in case people haven't been tuned into your channel,
okay,
please bring us up to date. How did it go?
Well, luckily enough, I made it. Let me just put that to rest. I came in, I ran it on a track in case nobody, is up to speed with the story. I actually ran a half marathon on a 400-meter track, 53 laps around the track, which was mind-numbing, trust me. And I came in just under. I ran it in 79 minutes and 38 seconds, if memory serves.
Well, so, that's not that.
Oh, I just lost your audio, Tony. I'm sorry.
Right, here we go. The microphone is playing silly things today, so we'll see how we go. I need to keep still. I think if I hit the wrong floorboard, it's moving. So I was just saying, you were 20 odd seconds, so that is a long way just under. So congratulations.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
No problems at all. Before we take it any further, if anybody wants to say hello tonight or ask any questions, please feel free to do so in the comments. If you've got a question for us, #question helps because it means we can actually see it as it scrolls through. So that would help us immensely. And first of all, he's always the first in, Paul. Always the first.
I got you.
Good evening to Thank you very much indeed for supporting us tonight, Kim. We really do appreciate you being out there, mate. Thank you. Thank you very much indeed. So following on from what you achieved, and the other main achievement you did that day was not to actually get chucked off the track, because that is one of the things in your videos that when you are running around these tracks, you do normally get chased off by the cheerleaders or somebody like that. So congratulations.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, luckily enough, the football team was done with their season by the time race day came along, so I was good.
Fantastic. Right, we've got another couple of people joining us. Good evening to Ben tonight, who is well on his way towards the London Marathon in October. I think is it week 3 or week 4, Ben? You're doing quite well, so congratulations to you. And also good evening to Michael Sanderson tonight, joining us as well. So thank you very much indeed for being there, Michael. Really do appreciate your support. Right, so following on from your half marathon attempt, I'm currently, I actually looked at a calendar and I'm actually a week and a half away from mine, 27th of June. So it's a week on Sunday.
Butterflies, you got the butterflies going? Okay. Yeah.
Well, it's something that came up in a conversation with Matt B last week. Where the butterflies and the doubts are. Now, training-wise, I'm quite happy with the way it's gone. I've had a little bit of a niggle, which I've been working through, took the rest days for that. So I'm confident we can get through that. I'm confident we can get to the start line, and I'm confident the start line, I'll be raring to go. But the thing that Matt B put into my mind last week is you can't predict the weather. And I don't know if you've been watching YouTube over the last, well, you're a YouTuber, so obviously you've been watching YouTube. Over the last few weeks, you had that running guy, Chris, who backed off going for a personal best attempt due to the weather. You look at the Welsh runner, Matt Rees, and Andy, who you had on your channel a couple of weeks ago.
Last week or something. Yeah,
last week, yeah. Again, he backed off going for a personal best because, and this goes into the training for the marathons coming up in the autumn. We've had this kick of warm weather recently, and we're just very English and we're not used to it. So I could see that's the only thing that's niggling at the back of my mind when we're actually going for this sub 90 attempt. Is there any words of encouragement, or is there any advice as a person who runs in warmer temperature there in the States you can give to us Brits who like to complain about the temperature, whether it's too hot or too cold?
Well, there's a couple of things. Some of them, it may be too late, unfortunately, but hopefully you've been doing some heat training. If you put in a couple of weeks of kind of running in the heat of the day, that goes a long way to making life easier when you want to move fast in the heat. But beyond that, the big things I would tell you are make sure you are incredibly well hydrated, at least starting 3-4 days out from the race. That goes a long way too. Beyond that, boy, a lot of it just comes down to just sticking to the plan, just staying focused and just gutting it out for as long as you can. I mean, your body will tell you when you absolutely can't go any further, but at a given pace, I should say. But
there's no problems with actually going and running the race and finishing in the race. I have no qualms about that. Putting in a good time, no qualms about that. But it's just, if the temperature is just a little bit too high, we're running at 9 o'clock in the morning, so hopefully it might be a little bit less. We're saying that last few Sundays when I've been going out at 9 o'clock, it's been like 20 degrees Celsius, which is 70 Fahrenheit already at 9 o'clock, and just getting warmer as your hour or your 2 hours goes on. So it really all just depends on that weather. It's funny you should say warm weather training. Today I went out and did hill repeats in 23 degrees Celsius temperatures. So
that'll do it. That'll do it.
I'm feeling trained now, but I was buzzing afterwards. So as you say, it's the age-old adage of keep hydrated. That's the main thing. And I don't know whether to actually take a drink with me and have it in my hand, or just rely on the aid stations when they come round.
Yeah, I'm so weird about that, Tony. It's just like, I've never, believe it or not, I've run 9 marathons. So let me just say that out in front. And I've never run a marathon without carrying my own hydration. I'm so paranoid about that. It's like, I'd rather have the extra poundage of weight on my back just to know I can take a sip whenever I want to. So, you're talking to a guy who's very paranoid and very likes to play it on the safe side when it comes to hydration. So. Yeah,
again, this is down to your experience with it. In the south, you're a lot warmer temperatures than we tend to get here. Speaking of Chris, the running guy, who we mentioned about his attempt last week, Chris is with us tonight as well. So good evening, Chris. Welcome along.
Hey, Chris.
So close to a personal best on that half marathon he did last weekend, but just that strange British weather just beat him, which is what we've just been discussing over the last 5 minutes or so. So, as I say, people who are aiming for the London Marathon and the marathons that have all been rescheduled, they're all around the same time. They're all around that late September through October, early November time. So now is the start of those training blocks.
Yep.
Now is the time people are starting to, and most of these marathons are normally run in the spring. So what would you advise to be doing differently starting in the warmer part of the year? Because normally we're starting in the colder winter months. So it's the same plan that people would have used. The plan is exactly the same, but how should somebody attack the plan based on the difference in the climate now?
Yeah, there's a bunch of stuff that comes to mind for that. But I'd say the first thing is, the biggest thing for those people who are not lucky enough to have access to something like a cold room with a treadmill in it, I would say judge your current level of fitness by effort. If you're out there and it's warm, you're not going to run those super quick times that you may even have been used to 3 or 4 months ago. But if you feel like you're pushing just as hard as you were in those colder temperatures, trust me, those are on par with each other. You're going, when the weather starts to dip in October, late September again, your speed's coming back. So don't despair. Don't give up on your training just because suddenly you're 60 or 90 seconds per mile slower than you were a little while ago. It's all going to come back. It all translates. And, as I alluded to earlier, the other big thing is, if you can get to a gym or a treadmill in your own home, and you can get those fans on you from every direction, at least for the days when you're doing your tempo work where the speed matters. If you can do that, and then run your easy days outside in the heat. That actually goes a long way to helping you. As we were just kind of talking about earlier, the just that heat acclimation, builds your blood volume. It does all kinds of great things for your body that allow you to run faster when it is warmer. So it's all to your advantage.
I think the advantage you've got at the moment, if you are just starting a plan, a 16-week plan, normally the first 4 to 5 weeks are base building. So this is not the bit where you put in the hard effort in and the hard work to get those times you're after. It is actually the base building. So you can rein it back just a touch, slow down those long runs and just take it a little bit easier while you're doing the base building, because that's, as I say, the main effort is going to come later on when hopefully we get into maybe some lower temperatures. Yeah.
And you guys, I think, have a little bit of an advantage for that. When I used to live up north of where I live now, I'm down in the American South now. So it's still hot here in October, whereas, I'm from, the northerly reaches where autumn would start kicking in early September. So, you could start getting faster, but yeah, down here, it's just endless suffering. So.
Fantastic. So thank you very much indeed for that. So can I tell people your news, or is it still a secret that you?
No. I've been sharing it in live streams and things like that. I haven't made an official video to announce it yet, but by no means is it am I trying to keep it under wraps? Absolutely not.
Well, I didn't want to step on any toes, but no. You're now a certified.
Tony, that worked out perfectly. You just got muted as soon as you said it. People are going to think I did that on purpose.
So now you're a certified coach in the US. So congratulations.
Absolutely, thank you.
How did the process go? I know we were talking off air about COVID getting in the way of booking on courses and whatever. So we won't touch on how long it's actually taken to get on the course. But how did you find the training for it stateside? What did you have to do to get that coaching qualification?
Yeah, it's funny because over here, there are two main bodies over on this side of the pond. There's the RRCA, which is the Roadrunners Club of America, and then there's the USATF, which is more concerned with if you want to be a coach to track athletes. It's just very much about that kind of thing. Whereas the RRCA is about kind of what we're all about here in our little running community on YouTube. It's more about the people who just want to go out and get fit and all that kind of stuff. So with the RRCA, they really, there's not like, you're not in class for weeks. There's no, long thing. Basically, you sign up, they give you 1 weekend where they present 2 full days of here's what you have to know in order to pass the test. And then it's up to you to make sure you know that stuff inside out before you can pass that test. So it's kind of, jumping into the deep end, and you make the call when you're ready to write the test. So I'm happy to say I was ready when I finally did write it. I passed it with a 99%. So, well, there we go. That's what I'm trying to do.
So you're not setting the bar too high by saying you got a 99% pass rate. So no.
Yeah, it was one of those things because 85% is a bare pass, 84% you fail. So they expect you to know quite a bit before you can call yourself a coach, which is kind of nice.
Fantastic. There are a few congratulations coming through for you. Ben says congratulations, Paul. Well done.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you.
Another one. Congratulations on the coaching, Paul. So well done.
Much appreciated.
So yeah, I'm just trying to see how the actual going from a run leader, which myself and Chris, the running guy, is at the moment, going from a run leader to an official coach. We've got, with English Athletics, it's a 4-day course. Gotcha. So it's a Saturday and a Sunday in the classroom environment, going through the principles of running and fueling, hydration, blah, and all that in-depth stuff. And then you come back 6 weeks later where you should be able to write a plan for an athlete.
Yep.
And then also you doing a bit of practical and teaching that plan to other coaches, a lot of practical work on that 3rd day. And then again, another 6-7 weeks later, you come back for a 4th day, which is a pure practical you and all the other coaches together, you're all doing your little bit where you're teaching them, they're teaching you, and you get assessed on that before you actually get the coaching qualification. So it's not so much a sit-down test. It's more practical based.
Which is amazing. That's just, I wish it was like that over here.
It's not like one of those diploma courses you can get online like Joey did in Friends to become a so he could marry everybody. It's not like that. Chris says congratulations, well done to you as well, Paul. So yep.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Right, so tapping into that coaching knowledge that you now have at your 99%.
Okay, why did I say that?
We're not going to let that go. No. Now, how should or what should somebody who's attacking one of these marathons in the 16 weeks time, how should they go about finding the plan that suits them? Should they be looking at an off-the-shelf plan? You know, like in the London Marathon, Martin Yelling, who is like the London Marathon coach, he's got various plans. Various YouTubers have plans available.
Mm-hmm.
Or they could actually go to a coach. How would you advise somebody who comes up to you and says, Paul, I'm going to go and run a marathon in 16 weeks. How should I train? What should we do?
Yeah, I mean, the first thing I want to say, if you're going after your first marathon, I think a lot of the off-the-shelf ones are pretty darn good. You know, they're very safe. They're very they're not going to push you past your limits. They don't want to get themselves in trouble either. So they're not going to they're not going to tell you to do anything too crazy. But without getting too far into the weeds, Tony, I think the big thing is a good training plan, especially for a first-time marathoner, is going to be a minimum of 16, like you said, weeks, up to 20 weeks, to give you time, to give your body time to acclimate, to grow stronger. And there should be 4 stages to that plan. First, as you were alluding to earlier, you just want to have a base building section where you're running all your runs very easily. All you're worried about is being able to run more mileage each week and go, when you go out for your Sunday long run, you want to be able to run further with each of those weeks, but always very easy pace, very aerobic. The second stage is where you're going to start building strength, which is, fartleks, hill work, tempo runs. Once your body acclimates to a little more distance with a little bit harder work peppered in there, then in the last half, that's when you want to see a plan that starts working you with interval type of stuff, really intense stuff once a week, while maintaining everything else, the long run and the tempo work as well. So you basically, when you're 3 weeks away from your intended race, you want to be like Iron Man. You want to be incredibly tired. You want to be worn out by the whatever plan you choose, but not injured, not feeling like you're about to die, but you want to feel well used, And then, of course, there's the 3-week taper. We can't forget about that. So, and then you should be good to go. But there are so many variations on how those 4 sections get built out in different people's plans. But that's really to me, if you're looking for a plan for the first time or your second or third marathon, those are the big things to look out for.
And I think what a lot of people don't realize as well is, especially the charity place, or they're going for the first marathon and they've not really been a runner before, because you see it plenty of times. I've got a place in the marathon. I've never run a marathon before. In fact, I don't run. I think a lot of people forget that even though you might have a 16-week or 12-week training plan, that plan is based on the fact that you should have been running for about 4, 5, 6 weeks before you actually get to the start of the plan. So I think that's what a lot of the more I know we're all recreational runners, but the more first-time runner probably makes that mistake, thinking, okay, I've got 16 weeks. Here's the plan. I can do it. And I'm not saying they can't. A lot of people will probably be able to breeze through it, but there's a lot will fall shy because they haven't done that prep work before they started.
Exactly. Yeah, base building is a big thing. I mean, I wouldn't really even recommend that somebody even attempt a marathon unless they've been running for 6 months prior. I mean, like you were saying, Tony, you could sort of cram, you can try to fit it in. But speaking as someone who learned the hard way, who actually did the wrong thing, I went for my first half marathon, and I attempted to, I ran my first half marathon with my longest training run for that half marathon having been 14 miles, 2 weeks before that marathon, just so I could say I've run longer than a half marathon, just to build that confidence in myself.
Yep.
And then I got an email, a congratulations email from a friend saying, "Wow, you did great on that half marathon. I bet you can't run a marathon." So I was like, okay, my local city marathon is 6 weeks from now. Let's see if I can just double my distance. And I went for it. And I never made it to the start line. I blew out my IT band on my right leg and I was sidelined. And that was the end of that little dream for a little while. So,
yeah, as they always said, we've said it before in live streams, we've said it before in YouTube videos, the main target, well, the first target is to get to the start line injury-free.
Exactly.
That's the thing to do. Just going back to what you were saying about a training plan at the end of that third stage before you hit the taper, that's when you should be dead on your feet. Well, I'm glad to report that is exactly where I am. 2 weeks out from this half marathon, I am dead on my feet. You know, I took half a week off last week because the leg was playing up a bit. Seems to be fine since then, but yeah, I'm dead on my feet. So
good news.
Confidence levels seem to be. So I think that's pulled me back up a bit. So thanks very much indeed for that, Paul. Confidence speaking from you there. Yeah, if you're knackered at the end of the third stage, you're doing it right. So great.
Exactly.
And I've just thrown myself now. Oh, I hate it when I do this. I should really, really write these questions down, but I always forget. Just wing it, you know.
Yeah, it's more fun that way.
We filled it up. How long was that recording we did for that interview I did on your channel? I think you said, we're looking for about 40 minutes, and I think 2 hours later we were still having it.
Yeah, but I mean, it flew by because we were having fun, so who cares, you know?
Right, so we've looked at the plan, and I think another thing to say about a plan is it's not set in stone. You know, a lot of people will see the plan. I've got to do this today. I've got to do that tomorrow. I've got to do that. But it's not actually set in plan. You've got to take into account your personal circumstances. You might not be able to fit all those runs in. Work gets in the way. Family gets in the way. You know, you can get a leak with the washing machine, and that's your whole day gone type thing. So the plan is a tool that gives you where you need to go, but it's not fixed in stone. So most plans will say the long run's on a Sunday, but you don't have to do that long run on a Sunday. If you know you've got something coming up, you can change your long run to the Saturday, or you can do the long run on the Friday. So that's one thing to bear in mind, isn't it? That whilst it's there to help you, it's not actually set in stone. Exactly.
And that's probably one of the biggest drawbacks for a new wannabe marathoner when they get an off-the-shelf plan, because they look at that grid and they think to themselves, you know, I can't stray from this. And, you know, you don't want to stray a lot because, you know, I mean, you miss too many long runs or whatever the case may be. Yeah, you're not going to perform the way you want to. But with that said, Tony, very good point that, you know, if you need to switch a long run from a Sunday to a Saturday to accommodate, you know, the rest of your actual life, yeah, do it. But, you know, the only thing I warn against is shifting things around, especially for the real anchor workouts like the long run and like your tempo day. Don't shift them more than one day in either direction, because otherwise what happens is, you know, like if you switch your tempo day too far forward, by the time you will not have had enough of a recovery for your body by the time you have to hit that long run, and then the downward spiral starts and you start risking injury. So you know, but flipping a day here or there, no big deal at all. No big deal at all. I've done it plenty of times and it hasn't had any bad effect at all.
And as I said last week, I took five rest days, and I went out and did 14 miles on Sunday. You know, and that felt great. Done the hill work today. I realised this 54-year-old body needed that rest, and for me, it's worked out. And I don't think I don't feel that I've lost anything from taking those 5 days.
Oh, yeah, you're not going to, I mean, it takes weeks for you to actually see any kind of dip in your capabilities, you know. Yeah, and it's one of those things, Tony, that I was so horrible the first few years of my running career, which is not all that long. I've only been running for 10 years, and I didn't start running until I was 42 years old. So, but I spent like the first 5 years of my running career just sort of being so scared to stray from what was on that piece of paper. And I would push myself so hard instead of adjusting. And it ended up being the reason why I constantly injured myself. So, I've since in my more mature years, I've learned to listen to my body. It sounds like you have to, learn to say, today I'm physically wiped out. I'm just, I'll do that workout tomorrow. The only point I want to make, which is kind of relevant, is if you're physically wiped out, flip that schedule around. If it's just a matter of you're in a bad mood or you're mentally wiped out because of a bad day at work, something's got you in a bad mood and you're just not in the mood to get out there. That's, for me personally, I draw the line there. I may feel like crap mentally. I may be in a bad state, but I never let that stop me.
Paul,
I'm missing.
Can we rewind you 10 seconds because you're frozen, dipped out, mate? So.
Did I? Okay, I'm sorry. Yeah,
basically we missed the main point of what you were saying. So
surely, yeah. Basically, I was saying if you're physically wiped out, flip your schedule around. Find another day to do that hard workout. But if it's just a matter of you're just in a bad mental state because of a hard day at work or something, that shouldn't be an excuse. Go out there and do it anyway. By the time you get to that second mile of your run, you'll be glad you forced yourself out the door. So,
I think the main thing is, and I keep saying this phrase. We say it over and over and over again. You've got to have fun and enjoy your run, and and that's if you are in that bad mood, and if you force yourself to go out, nobody ever comes back from the run afterwards saying, "Oh, that was awful." Everybody comes back. It's the same like going to the gym. Oh, I can't be bothered going to the gym. And you go and you do the workout, you come back, you're buzzing afterwards. So it's always worth putting that first foot in front of the other and getting yourself out the door.
Exactly. And it builds a lot of, the big thing in a marathon is the mental game. And if you're building that mental muscle of I'm going out on a day that I don't want to, not that I'm, just to reiterate this again, not because you're physically down, you just don't feel good enough to run, then take the day. But if you're just down in the dumps mentally and you go out anyway, you're building that muscle, that mental muscle that says, I can get things done even when I don't want to. And trust me, for any first-time marathoners out there who are planning to run your first one in the fall, that's the key to the marathon. You're going to hit mile 15, and from there on, for 11 or maybe more miles, you're going to be out there saying to yourself, I don't want to be here. This stinks. I hate this. But if you put in 18 weeks of, I'm going to run anyway, it's a lot easier to see those last few miles of the marathon through. So.
Yeah, you get to that point. And I remember when I did my first marathon and got to that mile 21 and thought, no, this is it. I could just walk off now. End of. But I thought, at the end of the day, I've got this far. And it's a half decent time, and then the runner's math starts kicking in, doesn't it? And you're thinking, well, if I walk the rest of it, I'm walking at an 11-minute pace, it'll get me. Oh, I'm still getting a good time if I walk it. So, it's that mental preparedness to actually push forward and
exactly, and that maybe comes from your training.
Yeah, that's it. We've actually got a question from Michael, so let's have a look and see what he says. Would or could planning a park run or 10K race in your 16-week plan? For me, I would say yes, and I have put them in my training before. When I went to do the first marathon in London with the Blackpool Freedom Runners, every Wednesday was a Freedom Park Run. So basically, we were running the park run course, but not timed as such. But every time I went out and did that 5K with those guys, it was a case of, well, how fast am I going today? And really pushing it. And using those events as part of your training, when you think, okay, I've got a 10K race, that can be my interval session for the week.
Exactly. I'm so glad you said that.
That's going to be my fast work for the week, shall we say, or faster work.
Exactly. And just to add to that, Tony, I think using the shorter races like the 5Ks and 10Ks as your interval work, as your tempo work is great. And it's a great way to make it more fun. The only thing I would say to keep in mind, Michael, is when you're running those races, there's going to be a temptation to go all out, to just kill it, because everybody wants to win. Everybody wants the best possible time. If it's possible, if you're of the mindset, try to rein it in, because your tempo runs and your interval work all should have a goal time, a goal pace that you're running them at. Mm-hmm. So if you can use those 5Ks, 10Ks and run at those ideal paces, then you're doing yourself a lot of good. If you go out and just try to kill it, then you may get a new PR for a 5K, but then the next day when you're supposed to go out and do your middle long run of 10 miles or whatever the case may be, you're going to die on your feet, so keep in mind the big picture. And the only other thing I want to add to it, Michael, is that you can even go longer. An ideal marathon plan will actually have you run sort of a time trial half marathon about a month out, just to kind of build your confidence towards the marathon. So, the opportunity is there to run all kinds of races while you're training for a marathon.
Fantastic. Thank you very much indeed, Paul. Now, the thing that it just jogged my memory there is with a lot of the plans, and a lot of people are always, you see this question asked time and time again on the marathon training groups on Facebook, on Instagram and what have you. But my plan only gets me running 22 miles, but it's a 26-mile race. There's always that question around, but I've not run the distance. So what would you say to people who ask that question, but I've not run 26, I've only run 22 in the furthest I've been? How can that help me?
Yeah, the first thing I want to say is trust in the plan. You do not have to run 26.2 miles in your training in order to run a strong 26.2 during the race. The adaptations that happen in your body when you're running 18, 20, 21, maybe 22 miles week after week, your body's getting strong. And yes, I'm not going to try to sugarcoat it. When you are in that marathon and you hit mile 22, I'll never forget my first marathon I ran in Charleston, South Carolina. Was my very first one back in 2015. And I remember I was lucky enough to partner up and run beside somebody who was far more experienced than me in the marathon. And I remember hitting that 22-mile marker and turning to this person and saying, I've never run this far. From this step forward, this is new territory to me. And yeah, I will not deny the fact that it's rough. You're going to be praying for the end, if you're pushing hard through that race. But as far as your body's capability to actually put up with it, it's a mental game after that, because of course, it's natural to doubt yourself. I've never been this far. This is scary. I hope I don't blow up. I just want to make it to the finish line. All that's going to be running through your head. But if you've put in a good training cycle, your body is more than capable just on having run up to 20 miles. You'll be fine.
And it really is funny how that when you get to that 24 miles or 24 and a half miles, how suddenly there's this switch clicks and you've got this surge of energy and your head's back up, your shoulders are back straight. You're not hunched up. You just start running and you start running faster. And I don't know if it's the psychology of you can see the finish line or whether the crowds are getting bigger and the cheering because I've been listening to Matt Fitzgerald's book, How Bad You Want It, and he's going on about the crowd effect, how it does increase your performance when you've got that crowd. So so when you get to that 24 and a half miles, how you've been at your lowest point and then suddenly you don't feel like you've run 24 miles. You've got this sudden spurt of youth again, shall we say.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's funny because Tim Noakes, Dr. Tim Noakes, talks about that in his book. It's called the Central Governor Theory, and it basically says, your mind starts to give up long before your body does. In a long endurance event, because it's trying to protect your body from harm. It's going to start telling you, slow down, take it easy. Don't push yourself too hard. We don't want to hurt ourselves here. Hey, come on, let's head home now. All that stuff that runs through your head, all that self-doubt. But as you approach the end and it's coming, that voice actually does start to quiet, because suddenly you start to realize, oh, I'm basically there now. You know what I mean? It hurts like crazy, but I'm basically there. Let's turn the juice on, and it gets better. It does get better.
It really is as bad as you might be limping at 24 miles, you might be limping at 25 miles, but then as soon as you get to that last half mile, from absolutely nowhere, you're sprinting again.
Exactly.
Right. Okay. Let's just go through a few comments that have been coming through. Mark Gray's joined us tonight. Mark is running London and New York, but don't tell anyone it's a secret. No, it's not a secret. He's got into New York. We've got a few comments. What's this one? Totally agree with Paul. Parkrun is amazing, but if you race it every week, you're going to burn out, and it will have dramatic effect on your training moving forward. So use it as a tempo, as you say. Just don't go out there and belt going for that PB every time. It's part of your training. It is. I've often said every run you do should have a purpose. Even if that purpose is just to go out and enjoy it and free your mind. But, especially in a training block, you are purposely going out, right, I'm going out to run this tempo run because I need to be increasing my speed to hit my goal run, my goal pace, to get that Boston qualifying time or whatever it is. So every race, every run you do should have a purpose.
Exactly. Yeah. And every run does have a purpose and a good plan. But one thing I do recommend, Tony, that even for the brand new first-time marathoner in training, is actually put in a little bit of research, an afternoon, and learn what the purpose of each of the different kind of runs are, because that's something that you can use. That's something you can put in your tool belt for when those harder miles in the race are starting to weigh on you, and it's nice to be able to remind yourself during those tougher miles of, remember all those long runs I did, remember all those tempos, I've got the strength to finish this out, and it's just a nice way to remind yourself when the going gets tough.
Yeah, that's something that's changed for me in this training block I've just done for this half marathon, is the tempo run, the steady run, the interval run, the easy run. They've always just been words to me with a vague idea of what I should be doing. But this time I've actually gone into it and said, well, my easy run, I need to be running at 8-minute miles. My steady run, I need to be running at 7.5-minute miles. My tempo, I need to be running at 7-minute miles, and my intervals need to be 6:30 or faster. So I've actually, this time, as well as trying to understand what they mean, I've actually put that physical speed or physical pace onto it. And I think that's helped me a lot more, because I know that, okay, I'm going out and doing this 6-mile run today. I've got to do 2 easy miles, 2 tempo miles, and then 2 easy miles. Right, I've got my watch. This is the pace I need to be going at these places. So I think to actually put the pace for me and my goal has helped me tremendously this time with the training.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that, because absolutely. You have to, those hard days, those tempo days and those interval days, you've got to be moving considerably faster than whatever your intended pace is for a marathon, because that's where you're kind of building that strength and you're building up. There's all kinds of physiological changes. That's what I'm trying to say, that take place during those faster paces that make the marathon seem a lot easier. So if you're never moving faster than the speed you want to run your marathon at, then you're not setting yourself up for success. You've got to push your pace during your training, for sure.
Right, I've just seen we've got another question here this time. Question for you both: if you could give only one bit of advice to a new runner, what would it be and why? I'll let you go first on that.
Oh, of course. Boy, that's a tough one. I would say focused attention on the long game. As you were saying earlier, Tony, when we were talking specifically about adding shorter races to your training, that all goes together. You may have a lot of fun sort of burning hot on a 5K in week 5 of your training cycle for the marathon. But if you go out too hard, what that's going to do, if you're not looking at the big picture, what you're going to do is burn yourself out. You may get away with it for that week. You may make it through the training cycle for that week, but there's going to be this cumulative fatigue. And if you're not looking big picture, if you're not staying focused on the prize, which is 18 weeks off, you're not going to make it to that start line, So it's so hard to convince new runners of that. You know, they go out there and they want to run every run fast. You can't. You just can't. There's just not enough energy in the world for that. You gotta pace yourself. You gotta have different days are for different purposes. Different runs do different things to your body, and they all serve a purpose. So if you're go ahead. If you're looking at the big picture, you're less likely to burn yourself out.
Yeah, my end goal is the Boston qualifying time, but then I've got little process goals in between that, like this half marathon, going sub 90. It all works, end goal, but it's those little process goals. But no, just going to that question there, what advice would you give to a new runner? Now, this is what I've said in the Couch to 5K groups I've been leading over the last few weeks. And these are people who might have run 5 years ago and got out of it and coming back to running, or they might be completely new to running. And the one thing I've said straight from the get-go, and then it's been repeated time and time again, is when you're running, there is no too slow. Yeah, it's about you and your ability and what you feel comfortable and what you're happy doing. So never, ever think you're running too slow. This goes back to the with parkrun itself, isn't it? There's always a tail walker. Nobody is ever last at parkrun. So for me, the advice I give to those new runners is you are never too slow. Do not apologize if you think you are holding me back to run with you. That's not the case. I'm here to encourage you, and I don't care what pace we're at, as long as you're putting one foot in front of the other and doing what you want to do at the pace you want to do it, and you have a smile on your face. So that is the advice I would give to any new runner.
Exactly.
Never too slow.
The only thing I would add to that, Tony, is whatever your chosen pace is, just make sure you're maintaining good form. You don't want to increase your injury risk because you're hunched over when you've been at it a while. Once you set off a chain of a physiological chain of events in your body, if you're hunched over, if something as simple as just kind of having your head down when you're moving, or kind of bending at the waist, these could potentially cause injury. So pace doesn't matter. Keep yourself happy when you're out there. Those training miles are not all supposed to be hard, fast miles, but just always be cognizant of the way you are moving, to stay healthy,
Yeah, and that isn't just for the new runners. That goes through to the elites as well. If you watch Eliud Kipchoge or Bekele, when they're getting to the later stages of marathon, their form changes. You can see them physically tire. When Kipchoge went for his sub 2 hour marathon, the commentators were saying you can see how his arms are physically dropping as he's getting tired. He runs not with a clenched fist, but with a closed fist, but then his hands are suddenly out and he's flapping a bit more. So as we get tired, our form does change, but it's knowing when it's changing and then to do something about it. I know a coach once said to me, if you're starting to feel tired and you're slowing down, just start with the arms and start pumping with the arms again, and you get your speed and your form back. So it is keeping an eye on your form, and then if you notice that you're dropping, doing something about it.
Exactly. Yeah. Have a checklist. You should be able to tell yourself you should know what proper form looks like, so that when it starts to degrade, when you start hurting, you know what to do about it. So that there's a lot of good that can come from that.
Okie dokie. Let's just go through a few more comments before we get into another question. So name is Lee. Good evening, Lee. Thank you very much indeed for joining us tonight. Really do appreciate you being there. Thank you very much indeed. What's Mark said? The more marathons are run, the better prepared you become in the later stages. Yeah, it's experience. You know what's coming up. It's like if you drive drive somewhere on vacation. The first time you drive there, it feels like it takes hours. If you go back to the same place next year, it's the same drive over the same distance, but it feels quicker. So it's always, what the 26.2, and it just feels easy the more you do it. Is that the case with you, experienced marathon runner number 9?
I completely agree with what you just said. To harken back to my first marathon again, it was brand new territory. I didn't know. I thought I knew what to expect, but there's, no matter what you think you're in for, when you're actually there in mile 23, boy, there's no denying the reality of the extreme, what's the term, the extreme discomfort that you're in. So but by the time you get to your second and third and however many marathons you're going to run, you start to realize, yeah, it's going to feel that way. And now you're already familiar with what's coming. So it's a lot easier to tell yourself, no, I've been through the training. It may feel bad, but I can keep pushing and I don't have to worry about anything going horrifically wrong with my body. This is the way it feels. This is the way it's supposed to feel. It doesn't feel good, but I know I can push through it. So as you become more familiar with that, you can actually reach a point once you're experienced enough where you're actually welcoming that discomfort. You're like, come on, bring it. I can beat this. I can't wait to just bring it on, you know? So, you know, it's a learning curve.
When will I feel that, Paul? When's that going to hit me? When am I going to feel like that?
Yeah, you know, it's different for everyone, but you will get there.
But the thing is, like, you know, the hitting the wall, which we don't do. We don't hit the wall the same as people did in the 80s, you know, when they were wobbling all over the place and collapsing because of the hydration, the nutrition, and how it's more focused, and then people are taking the gels, jelly babies, whatever. So we are better prepared, but we still have that dip. And I remember in my first marathon, I hit the low point, hit that dip, hit the wall, shall we say, at mile 18. But now I've done more, I get that feeling, it's been shifted along, and I get that feeling at 21, 22 miles. So following your advice, the more I do it, I'll just keep shifting it further along until it disappears off the edge. Is that right?
I don't know about the very last bit you just said there. It doesn't ever. I've never at least experienced it just disappearing completely. I've never crossed a finish line where I didn't feel utterly spent. But you know, especially on a, if you're running a course that is sort of the same throughout, you know, no massive extremes of uphills and downhills and stuff like that. If the course is pretty much flat-ish throughout, it's a lot easier to predict the way you're going to feel and to compensate for it by making sure you continue to hydrate, to make sure you continue to fuel properly throughout, and making adjustments for temperature. You know, you definitely improve with more experience, but you know, there are certain things that you just can't avoid. You know, if the temperature is past a certain point, it doesn't matter if you're Eliud Kipchoge or, you know, just me. You know, there's going to be a performance dip, and you're just going to have to learn to live with the fact that you're probably not going to PR on a hot day, you know.
Yeah, right. No problem. There's something I want to come back to in a minute, but we'll just go through a couple more of the comments. Lee has said, and this is the gospel. This is the main thing for every runner: consistency. No two ways about it. That is probably the number one thing that helps every runner: the consistency. Okay, you might run different types of run, but as long as you're getting out there and you, as we say, getting one foot in front of the other, and you keep that consistency, that is the real, where you see the real benefits and the real improvements in running.
Exactly. If you're just getting out there, even on the days when you don't want to, you're not going to feel motivated to run every time you're supposed to go out there. You're not going to feel that surge of willpower every time you're supposed to get out there. But if you just build that muscle of getting out there and doing it anyway, even if you're running super slow, trust me, there's no such thing as junk miles. I hate that term because there's no such thing. If you're out there, even if you're moving super slowly, you are causing physiological changes that are going to benefit you on race day, guaranteed.
Fantastic. Right, a couple more comments. Alan has joined us from New Zealand. There's no apologies needed, Alan. No problems at all. Thank you for turning up and being there. We really do appreciate it. This will be the opportunity now just to remind everybody, if you haven't done so already, if you could give this video a like, give us a thumbs up, that will help the channel grow immensely. If you haven't subscribed to my channel or Paul's channel, please do so at some point. If you can hit subscribe on mine now, and I've forgotten, and I will put the link into Paul's in the description after this video. So if you can go through to Paul's site and YouTube and give him a subscribe as well, that would be brilliant. Michelle's with us as well. So good evening, Running Geek Girl.
Hey, Heather. I keep screwing this up.
Oh, there we go. Yeah, sorry. Sorry, I said Michelle, it's Heather, isn't it? Sorry. Oh, it's just, I've done a hill session today. I'm in a 23-degree heat. I'm tired, so I'm making mistakes, so please bear with me. Kim says, remember to give this
Tony, I'm losing. I've lost video and I've lost audio on you. I don't know if I'm still on. There you go.
Yeah, we just all disappeared. The copper wires underneath the Atlantic were just messed with. But just going back to the training plan, and I think what's not covered in a training plan that people should realize is, and we've just touched on it, that nutrition, that hydration, it doesn't normally get mentioned in the training plan, but this is when you're doing those long runs, you need to be seeing what works for you. And these training weeks give you the opportunity to try different things, because another key tip for any marathon runner is nothing new on marathon day, nothing new on race day. You know exactly what you're going to do. You know what foods to take. You know what kit you're wearing. So nothing new on marathon day. So these long runs, this is the time to experiment, whether it's taking a goo gel or whether it's tailwind in your water or whatever. It's to use this time to actually experiment to see what works for you, because everybody's different.
Yep, and it's a long learning curve. It takes years to, in many cases, to find exactly, even if you found something that is doing an adequate job. I spent 5 years running with Gatorade as my sort of electrolyte drink. And, I thought good, works for me. I'm getting sugar. I'm supposedly getting salt and all that stuff too. And I was perfectly happy. But then one day on a whim, I went into the running store and I picked up a packet of Tailwind. And boy, that was the end of the Gatorade for me. So don't be scared to try something new. That, like Tony said, that's what those Sunday long runs are for, to learn what not just works adequately, but what works best.
Just to give you an example, Science in Sport, their gels are the most readily available here in the UK. The main supermarkets are actually carrying them now, so you can get hold of them quite easy. But I like the orange, and the orange works for me. But if I take a blackcurrant, my stomach turns. So even it's the same manufacturer, but the additives are different because of different flavoring. So it really is trying to find what does work for you. And the Morton gels,
they're wonderful.
You come across those? They're my favorite. They're expensive. Don't get me wrong, they're expensive, but they definitely do the job. And I love the caffeine one.
That's everybody's secret weapon.
I've not felt a caffeine kick, but you just, after you've taken the caffeine gel, maybe 5 minutes later, you suddenly realize you are alert. You're a lot more alert than you were before. You might be. I just thought of a video series I can start, but no. It could be. No, my mind was wandering while I was talking, and I was just thinking, how when we're running in headphones and we're singing along to our music, like James Corden's done carpool karaoke. Perhaps we should do runners headphone karaoke. Just videos of people running around singing along to the headphones in random places.
Oh, dude, that's gold.
You got to do that one. I'll do that one. We'll do it as a short. Anyway, so I've totally thrown myself now. But yeah, the with the Morton gels, not a caffeine kick, but you suddenly realise I'm a lot more alert, a lot more awake. So they are worth it. Right, we've got some more stuff to go through here. Aaron's, is this a question? Top tips for a 20-mile race. It's to me, it would be treated the same as a marathon, isn't it? It's that.
Yeah, that's
endurance,
very close to marathon distance. So yeah,
it really is more of a case of if it's a 20-mile road race or a 20-mile ultra. Not a trail race, not an ultra, because obviously ultras are over 26. But is it a 20-mile road race or a 20-mile trail race? Because they're similar, but you do approach them differently.
Yeah, Aaron, one good piece of advice that comes to mind for me for something. I don't want to call a 20-mile race a short race, because it's not a short race. It's just shorter than a marathon. And the opportunity that affords you is, unlike a marathon training block, for a 20-mile race, you can actually over-distance train. And that will go a long way to making a 20-mile race easier to finish strong. If you're building your long runs upwards towards, 21, 22, 23, 24 miles in those weeks building up to that race, boy, you're going to cross that finish line really strong.
Yeah, it's what Aaron said there. So yeah, and he's looking to go for 2 hours on a 20-mile race. That's some
rock on. That's some speed.
Best
right
of luck. Best of luck with that. Right, we've got a couple more here. I'm just looking at this. We've been prattling on again. 55 minutes so far. 55
Just
minutes.
flying by.
It does. It just goes. Aaron asked the question, top diet advice. Now, I'm going to be very short, succinct, and to the point with this one. If you go back to a live stream I did a couple of weeks ago with Coach Neil, we do touch, well, it's the whole live stream's about nutrition. And in that case, we are looking at what percentage of carbohydrates you should be taking on during the week, what percentage of protein, what percentage of everything else. So I would point you in that direction and go and have a watch of that live stream. It's still on my YouTube channel with Coach Neil. Some really good advice from him. He's a sports scientist, so he's really looked into the nutrition side of things. So that's a really good watch from my side of things. So that's what I'd say. I'm going to defer to somebody who's more an expert in that field than me.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, yeah, the nutritionists know this stuff inside out. The only kind of big picture stuff I would say, Aaron, is, oh boy, I would say don't believe in the whole carbo loading the night before thing, because that's a bunch of bunk. Just kind of increase the carb intake for the last 3 or 4 days before the big race. And the only other thing I think that really doesn't get talked about enough diet-wise, and it has nothing to do with the things to eat, but I would say as far as caloric intake is do your best to be at your ideal race weight or close to it before your training cycle starts. You don't want to be restricting calories when you're working harder week after week after week, because your body will start to break down. But I'll leave it there. That's about as deep as I want to go. I
think the other thing is balanced diet. Eat your greens, eat the rainbow, as they say. So it's that whatever diet you are following. I know there's lots of different diets out there, different lifestyles and what have you. So we're not going to say this is what you need to do. Just look at a balanced diet, whichever diet you're on. Just make sure it's balanced. Michael's asked a good question. This is more for you because I don't do this, but you're a run every day guy, aren't you? So should you have double run days? I know like Scott Jurek goes on about running 24 miles in the morning and then 24 miles in the evening, but he is one of the extreme example.
Yeah, I would say the first thing when doubles come to mind, first of all, the purpose of doubles is to allow you to run more miles without stressing your body as hard as you would during an incredibly long single run. It allows you to do more overall weekly mileage without destroying yourself. With that said, I don't think doubles are necessary unless you're running at least 70 miles a week. That's kind of like the threshold for most people. Once you start to get into that 75, 80 and upwards, doubles are just going to be a part of your life. When I was, the most mileage I ever ran in training for a marathon, and this is going to sound stupid and it did not benefit me. I just want to kind of put that out there before I say this. I peaked my training cycle at 120 miles a week. And the only way you're going to get to that kind of mileage in a 7-day period is by running doubles 5 of those 7 days a week. So they are necessary for that higher mileage stuff. And they go a long way in stressing your body less while giving you all the physiological benefits of that higher mileage.
I think the only time recently I've run apart from today when I did an easy run, I moved location, so that's why it was two different runs, so it's not the same. But the only time I've double run recently and in this training block was a Sunday morning when I had a 10K race. So it was up early, go do the 10K race, came home, cup of coffee, bagel with cheese on, and then I went out and ran another 6 miles. So that gave me 12 miles for the day, which was a Sunday long run. But that was the only reason I did it, because it was a long run day and I'd done a shorter race and I wanted to get my miles up. So that's the only time I've done it. So
gotcha.
That can give you some ideas. Aaron's been quick on the questions. He's got lots of questions tonight, Aaron. Is it hard to carry your own liquid in a race? No. Because
no.
you've been training and carrying your own gear while you've been training all week. In a marathon, yes, you have the aid station every mile or whatever the actual setup is on that particular marathon. But all those miles you've done beforehand, you have had to sort out your own hydration and your own nutrition, which normally means 99% of those long runs you've been carrying the gear anyway.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, there's different ways to carry that liquid. Obviously, some you'll find the ones that you prefer. Like I don't like the handheld because it throws off my balance, it throws off my stride. I don't like the waist pack because it squeezes me, and unless I'm sure that I've cleared my bowels, then weird things start to happen mid-run. I love the hydration vest. You would very quickly adjust to the weight of the water on your back. So,
Well, I go out long runs with the hydration vest, and then I've just got the soft bottles in the pockets. So I've got that. And the other thing about throwing off balance, right? You're a YouTuber and you're carrying a GoPro. So here's the suggestion: the GoPro in one hand and the water bottle in the other, and you're balanced.
There you go. There you go. And in fact, some people even carry two handhelds. I don't recommend it because then if something comes up with an emergency and you need your hands, it's too bad for you. But
right, we've got Matt B's joined us. Sorry, but hey, no problem at all, Matt. Thanks very much indeed for joining us tonight. Really do appreciate the support. So thank you very much indeed for being there, Matt. Now, just a couple of questions because I'm looking. We've been going for an hour now, so we'll just do a few more minutes and get through these questions. What races do you have planned? Well, for me, it looks like this: Southport Half Marathon in 2 weeks' time, the Great North Run in Newcastle, which is the world's greatest half marathon, in September. Then we've got a couple of local charity 5-10Ks here in Blackpool, and then Manchester Marathon and Amsterdam Marathon, but we won't talk about those. So 2 marathons coming up in October. So what about yourself, Paul?
Yeah, wow. First of all, hats off to you for having so many races already on the calendar. That's awesome. For me, I kind of made a promise to myself at the beginning of the year that I was going to try to set new PRs in them. Well, I've never done like a mile time trial before, so I'm going to try to get under 5 minutes for the mile. I'm going to try to PR in the 5K and 10K. But the only big race that I've got locked in right now doesn't happen until December, believe it or not. And the reason I've pushed it back that far is because I've set myself a huge goal, and I'm going to need an extra long training cycle to reach my goal. So I'm going to run the Kiowa Island, South Carolina Marathon on December 11th, and I'm going to be trying to run a 2-hour, 45-minute PR for me, which will take out my old PR by 7 minutes. So it's a lot, because keep in mind, everybody, I'm 52 years old, so no spring chicken here.
Wow, 2-hour 45 minutes is the target in December. Yeah, you'll knock it out of the park. You'll knock it out of the park. You'll be fine. You'll be fine.
I hope so.
And now you're a coach. You can coach yourself, so there should be no problems along the way at all. So
I've got no excuses.
You can take yourself to one side of that track and give yourself a good talking to motivate.
Exactly.
Yeah. Right. No worries. As I say, we are running out of time. Aaron carries a small bottle. Yeah, it really depends on where you're running and what you need. I generally just need 500 ml, even out on a long run, because of the weather here in the UK. I can get away with 500 ml of water and then gels and what have you. So, but I know some of the places you need to be carrying a lot more. I have the opportunity to get 1.5 litres on my back if I need to, but I don't think I could do it. What else we got? Yep. So Michael says, "Go, Paul."
All right. Thank you. Thank you for the encouragement.
Mark says, "Good luck to 45. Brilliant." Yes, that's it. We've gone on too long. If we've missed your question, I do apologise. But if there's anything there we've missed, I'll have a discussion with Paul over Instagram or something over the next couple of days, and we'll put out a written response at the bottom of this video if we have missed any. So, cool. So, as always, thank you very much indeed for being out there. I really do appreciate the support. Thank you for the questions. Thank you for your interaction. It's been brilliant. Paul, thank you very much indeed for your time and being here. Congratulations on the coaching. Glad to see you're fully certified coach. Not certified, but you're fully certified coach. And good luck with that 2:45. before everyone disappears, click like, click subscribe, nip over to Paul's channel and click subscribe there as well. So from both of us, thank you very much indeed. See you all
Thank you,
again.
Tony. I just want to make sure I get it in there. Thank you so much for having me. I really enjoyed it.
No problems at all. So everybody, thank you very much indeed. See you again soon. Bye.
All right. Bye-bye.